Well, not only did you not help her, you
I
joined
took,
in. What
I took,
happened?
well, we was all drinking and having a party, and she gave one guy sex, and the rest thought that they can get it, and they just went in there and took it.
The rest, be part of the rest?
Yes, the other guys that was in the house.
What about you? What did you do?
I had sex with her myself, and like I said, I regretted that I took part in it. And I
Do
just,
you have any idea how dehumanizing it is to have men do to her what you guys did to her? Do you have any understanding of what that would do to a person?
Well, I don't know about you, but that wasn't enough. I need some more. Sorry, Miss Jackson. So we're going to go into another one. We've seen it before a few years ago, so I think it makes sense to bring it back. With that, let's jump in.
Michael Huffpower, DOC 416780.
You are Michael Hoffpower, DOC number 416780. You're here seeking the commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in the 14th District, Calcasieu Parish, September 1999. You received a life sentence for an aggravated rape conviction. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mrs.
Yes,
Johnson.
ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hoffman. My name is Bonnie Jackson, and I will start the questioning for the board this afternoon. So I'm just going to talk to you about some things related to your case, as well as how you spent your time in prison. How old are you, Mr. Hoffman?
55 years old.
And how long have you been in jail on this charge?
24 years.
This is, I'm not going to go into all the details about the crime, but suffice it to say, it was a horrible thing that was done to this young woman. There were 7 of you involved in this assault. How many of you were actually prosecuted, Ms. Hoffman?
There was 3 of us.
Okay. And what happened to your other two? The other 2?
One is still here with me, and the other one hung himself in a cell block.
So were the other 2 also sentenced to life in prison?
Yes.
Well, tell us, Mr. Hopper, you were about 21, 22 when this happened?
I was 31 years old when
That's
it
right.
happened.
I'm sorry, I did the math wrong. Well, what was going on with you in your life at that time, Ms. Hopper, that would cause you to be involved in this kind of behavior?
I have a learning disability, and I was on Social Security and SSI at the time when all this took place. And I went to 3rd grade education, and stuff. And I didn't get much education, so.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more. You indicated that you went into foster care from ages 8 to 18. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I was in a boys' home in Leesville State School.
And you were there about 10 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And once you were released from that facility, where did you go? Who did you live with? How did you support yourself?
I was living with my mother, helping her, and she passed away while I was in jail on this sentence.
Well, so from 18 to age 31, what were you doing with yourself?
I was working.
What kind of work did you do?
I was working at Pit Grill as a dishwasher.
And was that a part-time job, full-time job?
That was full time,
And how long did you do that?
about 2 years.
What other kind of work did you do?
I was doing lawnmower repair work on the side.
What kind of repair work?
Lawnmower repair.
Lawnmower repair. Okay. So how did you come to be in the place where this woman was attacked?
It was in my uncle's house that I was taking care of while he was in jail.
Okay. And someone brought her to the house, or you brought her to the house?
No, Forrest Bradford brought the girl to the house, and everything just went haywire from there.
I don't know what haywire means, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But she says that she was sexually assaulted by at least 7 men
Yeah.
at that place. You agree with that?
No, ma'am. There was 5 of us at the house at the time when she was there.
Mm-hmm. And did you participate in the sexual abuse?
Yes, ma'am, I did, and I regret every day that what happened to her, Miss Vidrine, and I wish I could take it back, but I can't. And I'm just asking mercy from the board that today to show my rehabilitation and
Well,
the
let's
achievements that
we'll talk about that. Do you have a job at the prison?
yes, ma'am, I do.
What's
I
your
do.
job?
East Yard Sewage Trap. I do raw sewage.
And how long have you done that?
About 10 years.
What's your custody status?
I'm a minimum C,
And how long have you had that status?
7 years.
You've had 18 write-ups. Does that sound about right?
Yes, ma'am.
The last I show was in 2015. It was an aggravated disobedience. Tell us what happened.
I left some t-shirts and boxers at the foot of my bed, and I was asked to remove it, and I forgot and got rolled up.
Well, you've taken some programs since you've been incarcerated. One of them was the sex offender treatment program. Did you complete all 4 phases of that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right, well, tell us about that. Tell us what you learned in that program.
I learned not to take responsibility on myself and not trying to blame others for my actions, and then by taking the responsibility.
Well, let's talk. What did you learn about how sexual assaults affect the person who's the victim? What did you learn about that?
It shows me that by taking responsibility, I should have done something to help her, and I didn't do it.
Well, not only did you not help her, you joined in. What happened?
Well, we was all drinking and having a party, and she gave one guy sex, and the rest thought that they can get it, and they just went in there and took it.
The rest be part of the rest?
Yes. The other guys that was in the house.
What about you? What did you do?
I had sex with her myself, you know, and like I said, I regretted that I took part in it. And I
Do you,
just-
do you have any idea how dehumanizing it is to have men do to her what you guys did to her? Do you have any understanding of what that would do to a person?
it traumatizes a person. And I not only hurted her, but her family, my family, you know, and I regret it.
Her family wasn't the victim of a horrific sex.
Her family was not the victim, but Miss Vidrine was. So in a
Right. So
way,
I want you to think about Miss Vidrine and what her life must have been like after what you guys did to her.
well, what we did to her was terrible, uncruel, and I can't really put it in words, but
And well, she had been in a drug rehab program when you all committed this crime. Is that correct?
she was kicked out of Briscoe.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether she was kicked out or not. That doesn't justify what happened to her. But
No,
the
it
point
does
is,
not.
she was already struggling with drug issues.
Yes.
So how do you think that what you guys did to her affected her struggle with drugs and addiction?
Well, we was already doing weed and crack cocaine in the house at the time when she came. She took part in all of that.
Well, Mr. Hawk, I'm really saying that you don't really understand how serious what happened to this young woman was. You completed your sex offender treatment in 2020. Is that correct?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry, 2019. I'm sorry, in 2019 you completed your sex offender treatment. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you applied for a pardon in 2020. That sound
Yes.
about right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you applied after you had completed all 4 phases of sex offender treatment. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to listen to what you said back then when you applied, speaking about what happened. You said it wasn't consensual, but it wasn't forcible either. She never said no. So I kind of say it was about simple rape, just to the average. Well, that doesn't sound like someone who learned a lot in sex offender treatment about what rape is and what rape does to a human being.
Well, at the time when I filled out the application, I had someone help me to put it together, and I didn't fully understand on what he put in on the application before I sent it in.
Well, but he would only put down the statement that you made. He wouldn't make up a statement. He'd just say what you said, even though he helped you fill it out. Well, let me ask you this: where's your family?
They left Louisiana when I come to prison.
So you haven't had any contact with them since then?
I'm in contact with one sister, and that's about it.
Where does she live?
In Nacona, Texas.
Okay. Well, if you were to be successful how are you gonna live? Where would you live? What would you do for a living? How would you take care of yourself?
I was going to go to the Department of Parole transition housing and go from there
So where?
to the parole project in Baton Rouge, to the transitional housing, and they provide you with a job and a housing.
I'm familiar with the parole project, but they're not involved in your case. When they're involved in your case, they appear on your behalf, they send somebody to talk to you, they appear in front of us, and we don't have any of that. So what kind of work would you do?
I would try to open up my own lawnmower repair shop and try to make it from there.
How would you do that? Take your money to do that. How would you do that?
I would have to get out and get a part-time job or doing something and build up some money to where I can open up my own business.
Warden, can you tell us anything about Mr. Hoffpower?
Ms. Jackson, you pretty much covered everything that I would have to have offered.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Mr. Hoffpower, is there a statement you'd like before we vote?
I like to apologize to Miss Vidrine to all the hurt and pain and suffering that I put her through the years, and I just hope that she'll forgive me and ask the board to have mercy upon me as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your remarks. I think we're prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson will be voting first.
All right, Mr. Hoffpower, I'm worried about you. I don't think you have really gotten what you need to get out of the programs you've taken. I know you're still struggling to try to get a GED and haven't been able to do that. You don't have any family support. You don't have any support from anyone on the outside. You don't have any real job skills. And, you know, to release you under those circumstances would be to put you in a worse position than you are now, because you could very well end up homeless because you don't have anybody who's out there, you know, helping you and providing you the things that you need. So I don't think you're ready today. I think you've got a lot more work to do. I think you need to, you know, get with a transition team to try to develop a transition plan. Because right now, if we were to let you out, or if you eventually got out soon, you wouldn't make it. You just don't. You don't have what you need to make it. So I want you to keep working on that GED. Try to, you know, make connections with family. Try to make a connection with the parole project. But today, my vote is going to.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I sent the Pardon and Parole Board my portfolio, and I sent one also to the parole project. Now,
They have-
I don't know.
We have all that. We're voting now.
Right. So, but I just don't think you're ready. I think you got some more things you need to put in place. So my vote today would be to deny.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Roshi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Hofftower,
Yes, sir.
based on express opposition from the victim, the DA's office, law enforcement, and what I consider insufficient time 24 years for a conviction of aggravated rape. I'm going to deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. Rushmore. Mr. Mirabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Hoffpower, I agree with my colleagues. I think he needs some more work. My vote likewise is to deny. Good luck to each.
Thank you, Mr. Mirabella. Mr. Freeman?
I also vote to deny.
All right, Mr. Hoffpower, and I do concur. I think you have some more work to do, so my vote is the same. So you need to get busy. Today, your application for clemency has been denied, sir.
Thank you.
So let's unpack this. I mean, for one, I gotta say, I love the Miss Jackson hearing. She is just so good. And it's only after seeing all these different states or different parole boards that really makes me appreciate it even more. And I miss her so much. I miss this board. I miss Mr. O'Shea. I even miss Mr. Mirabella. It's, there's also something that I've been seeing, which is, on Mandu 2, the second channel, covering Iowa, Utah, Illinois, and Connecticut. And it gives me a much deeper appreciation for the quality of the board in Louisiana, for their process, for the seriousness, for how they handle crime in general. And I'll give you an example. Maybe you've seen this. It has like 70,000 views, posted a couple weeks ago. I'll put a link in the description, but just covered a case out of Iowa of a man who had a similar crime. There was 4 men involved, 2 underage girls, and he gets up for parole after serving just 6 years. Okay. I'm not going to tell you the result of it, but the difference between the sentencing is just night and day. Now, of course, I'm not going to forget the idea and the fact and the bottom line that legislation is still messed up in Louisiana, that when it comes to what things that happen to children, they get little slap on their sentences. Those really, sentencing, it makes no sense. It makes no sense how we see things that are just unfathomable happen to children, parents doing it to their own biological children and getting just 4 years, 2 years, 6 years, 8 years. And in this case, they decided to throw the book at this group of people. They did go to trial, so we have information. And thank you, Richard, for sharing it with me. You know what I did? If you see that little red thing popping up, it's because I hung a I hung a drawing. I'm world's best dad. My kids made this for me. And it's their little hands. Mama Do had the idea. It's really cute. But yeah, there's a drawing there, and I need to move it probably because it kind of looks weird. It's popping up behind me. Anyway, so if we go look at this, and so just the way that he spoke about it too, Miss Jackson called him out. But here's the facts of the case. So VC testified at trial that she met the co-defendant Michael Gilroy when she was first admitted in Briscoe's inpatient narcotics rehabilitation program in Lake Charles. 2 weeks later, on September 28th, 1998, the center asked VC to leave for not following the rules. Upon leaving, VC tried to call someone to pick her up and take her to Opelousas for the facility's lobby, but was unsuccessful. Gilroy, who was also leaving Briscoe Center on this date, offered to help VC find a ride home. Two proceeded on foot to Dewey Miller's house at about 3 to 3:30 p.m. Miller, a friend of Gilroy's mother, let VC use the phone to try to find a ride to Opelousas. VC used the phone and stayed at Miller's house for approximately 45 minutes. So remember, this all starts by her leaving the program facility. And this is his co-defendant's appeal, by the way, not his appeal. Gilroy and VC left Miller's residence and encountered the defendant, Schoening, who was driving a blue pickup truck. Gilroy and VC proceeded to nearby gully and smoked the devil's lettuce filled cigar, aka blunt. After Gilroy and Schoening assured VC they would find her a ride, the three proceeded to the house where the sexual assaults occurred. VC testified that when she entered the house, she saw Randy, Pops, McDonald, Forrest Red Bradford, and Michael Hoffmeyer lying around watching TV. After some time passed, Schoening and Gilroy decided to leave and told VC to stay at the house. VC testified she was drinking a Mickey, which is a large beer, and shared her Xanax with the men. She was very relaxed, a little bit out of it, but very aware. At some point, someone told her to go to the back room to see about getting a ride. Red, all these nicknames they have, was in the bedroom and told her he had a ride for her, but he wanted to have sex with him. Her to have with him in return. She said no. Red told VC that she did not want what he wanted, he would hurt her. He then started unlacing her boot and ordered her to remove them. VC testified Red forced his in her mouth, then took off her. When he finished, Red told her to stay on the bed naked and he left the room. She decided to put her clothes on. Red came back in and told her she had to give Pop some. She again said no. Gilroy and Schoening entered the room, turned out the lights. She stated that he pointed a gun at her and told her he would kill her if she did not stop screaming. Pops did it twice. I'm just going to screen what he did here. She stated that the men took turns with her and Schoening was the third man. BC testified that he placed a gun in her mouth after she told him no. I mean, you just can't make this up. The way he talked about it, like, yeah, whatever. I didn't know. I didn't stop. He then put a pillow over her head and hit her in the head 5 times with the gun because she was screaming. She got quiet because she was scared. After the men left the room, she put her underwear, pants, socks, shoes. She could not find a brassiere shirt, so she picked up a shirt from the floor and put it on. BC testified she walked outside the house. With Schoening and Gilroy, Pops called her back inside the house and made her sit on his lap. He told her he loved her, and that is why he did it to her. Gilroy walked VC halfway back to the Briscoe, and she ran the rest of her way. When she arrived, I love you. I love you. Can you imagine? When she arrived at the facility, she banged on the locked doors until someone came. She told them what happened, and they called the police. And, she took the stand. You'll see in here, I'm not going to go through all of it, but Richard provided all the appeals. They want to say, well, she was on Xanax. How could she know? She did initially say there were 7 men, as Miss Jackson had said. Maybe Miss Jackson was looking at the police report or something, but it was 5. And they said, well, see, how could you, but thankfully they came to the right conclusion. And good for her for standing up against them, and good for the DA for prosecuting it and all of that. And so he's still locked up. I'm recording this as of 7/15/2024. I know I did this once before, if you remember. Good on you. I'm doing some of them again. Frankly, I couldn't. It was hard to remember the case, and also I just really miss the old board. So I thought I'd bring these back. Let me know your thoughts on if you want me to continue doing the older board stuff or if you just want to move forward. But we're probably going to see him again. I don't see why he's not going to reapply. I can't imagine he does any better with the new board, but we shall see. And with that, I'll let you go.